How many viewers do we have? None, 0, 2, 1. Oh, my computer says I'm watching myself, I bet. I want my tripod back. I really do. Trying. What's going on, Zoe? I just got out of an atheist broadcast. It was fun. And then he had to leave before I could explain anything. You doing all right? I can never tell with you. But I'm glad to see you in my room. Finally watched Rick and Morty. So you'd never seen it before, or you just got back into it? What time is it? 1:30 in the morning? I guess I could have broadcast earlier. I thought I could bring people in here by going into somebody else's broadcast. Oh, you binged all 3 seasons. Man, Rick and Morty is the shit, man. Got my Rick and Morty hat on tonight. Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All is in the room. Damn. And the Stormageddon is like an environmental apocalypse. Pickle Rick. Shit. I couldn't believe it. That episode started with Pickle Rick, and I was just like, this cannot be a good episode. I don't remember everything about it. I'd have to watch it again because I've watched all the seasons, and it's crazy. But I do remember a lot about it when I think about it. But it was a much better episode than I thought it would be. It was insane. I mean, it just sounds like a horrible, horrible title or idea. You're just like, nah, this can't be good. But it was. Orange Rick and Morty hat and decorating it with pins. So you're making a Rick and Morty hat. That's pretty cool. All right. I'm without my tripod, so it's annoying. My tripod broke. It's like every aspect of it is fine except for the part that holds my phone. It's annoying as shit. And I want so bad. I keep trying to stick this on my tripod, and it's useless. It won't. It's just, it's so annoying. But I decided to go live and see if we can get any people in here and just have fun for a few minutes. I have to go to work tomorrow, but it's Sunday, so it should be slow, so I don't give a fuck. But I'm trying. Stormageddon, you're already gone? Are you serious? What the hell's 0? Wait a second. What is wrong with this app? What is your essay about? What's going on, Jose? You have to write an essay by noon tomorrow. What is your essay about? I gotta ignore like this whole thing. It says chat with one viewer when I know I'm talking to you. Yeah, I do usually broadcast about either spirituality or atheism or anarchism. Sometimes people try and draw me into the occult, which is annoying. Because I don't really like to be labeled. That's why I came up with spiritual anarchist to kind of create something that would force people to actually ask questions and not make assumptions. But I can get into questions that you have. Preventing global genocide before they... What? Wait a second. Preventing global genocides before they begin. Oh my... Your essay is that you have to make arguments for how to prevent global genocide? Shit. What? Did you pick that topic, or was it picked for you? Why would you pick that topic unless you, like, already have ideas on how to stop it? Pre-genocidal societies. I wonder what, evolutionary biologists like Richard Dawkins would say if we're predisposed to commit genocide to keep the population down or something. Because that would be a scary answer if science supported in any way, shape, or form. What's going on, Daniel? Can you imagine just mass genocides and scientists are arguing on one side of it that it's just part of evolution and it's just part of the human race and it's how we keep population down? and then have people on the political side of like, as long as it's not happening in my country, it's sort of like garbage dumps where it's not in my, what's it, NYMB, not in my backyard. So it's like, as long as it's not in my country, it's okay. Um, and then you have various religious groups actually committing genocide, going, yeah, yeah, yeah. Glad, thanks for excusing us. Irrational ideologies are just what predisposes to genocide, not just regular evolution. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So evolution may there may be like some sort of aspect to it that to keep population down. It seems really weird to think of it that way though, because I mean, if there's something to do with evolution to keep population down, all you have to do is spread mass disease, and the population will go down right away. You don't have to get people to kill each other. Um, What have you come up with, Zoe? What is your basic thesis or premise? What is your basic? Obviously, you haven't written the whole essay yet, but what point are you going to try and make with it? Because you have to know what the cause is before you can come up with a solution for it. So, Zoe, what's your theory on the actual causes that create the environment that where genocide becomes acceptable? Keeping population down helps totalitarian ideologies. It does help them hold power because the what these sickos can do in any political system, um, if you get rid of your part of your populations, say by introducing AIDS to society that never had it before, if that was really scientifically designed, is you can claim that poverty went down because the population went down. So therefore, technically, the number of people who have poverty has gone down, and you can act like you've eliminated poverty or improved health when you've done none of that. You basically just had thousands of people die than more than normal, and so now you can make all kinds of claims on that, how good your political party is or government is for society. Okay, a lot of environmental factors trigger genocide. Often it comes from great industrial power and a lack of resources. So, what if your government purposely tries to minimize these resources, or creates a scarcity of these resources, or convinces people that there's a scarcity of the resources? Reliance on religion for moral values, single charismatic leader. So, you really have thought this out. So, if you have your sources, then basically you can just outline it based on your sources and then just make a step-by-step argument. I don't know how quick you can write an essay or how in depth you have to go to actually get a good grade on it. Yep, I know what that's like, Zoe. I've been writing a book since I don't even want to think about it. And I was supposed to get some things done on that book this weekend and last weekend. I get shit done. I just feel like beginning writers should like have access to other writers, and we should be able to help each other. And it's just frustrating that it doesn't exist. You'd have to actually pay somebody who just cranks bullshit out, at an exponential rate, and just pay them, and they'll do some of the work for you, so that you don't have to do so much damn work just to get a point across that you already know that you can get across, and then you end up letting them do all the work, and then you didn't write it. The slow decline of religion, the promise of government power. There are other irrational ideologies. Yeah, it's sort of like nature abhors a vacuum. So it's sort of like religion is constantly hogged up the power play, and so now that the churches are losing their power, the government's stepping in, going, "Hey, let us do everything that horrified you about them, everything that pissed you off about religion. Let us do it and follow us unquestioningly, and everything will be fine." And it's like, oh my, government makes me miss religion. Religion makes me miss government, and really, I wish they'd both go away. Which is part of why I call myself spiritual anarchist. I got voted as the church youth president as an open atheist. Wow. So your church knows you're an atheist, and they voted you up as the wow. I'm trying to imagine that. I mean, it seems like, when I started out, when the internet very first began, and I called myself spiritual anarchist, like all I did was argue with people. They're just like, "You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong," and I had to sit there and prove my points over and over. Now it seems like a huge number of people, when I explain my viewpoint and say, the whole point of getting to a society that we could all be happy in is just to make a smaller and smaller government, take their powers away, help each other, get rid of religion, quit being dependent on ideologies. And now people don't sit there and question, argue as much. They don't throw everything in my face and say, where everybody assumes I'm wrong. Now I seem to like meet a lot of people who are just like impatient for it. Just like, yeah, let's do it. Zoe is just apathetic. Rarely care about anything. What does that mean? That you don't have passion for anything, or you get bored easily? What are you getting at? Catherine Grand, what's going on tonight? I mean, the thing though is we advocate getting religion and government, or get rid of that. There should be a process, just like religions and governments. They have a plan. Uh, I'm not saying they have a plan like some conspiracy, but I'm saying every organization that promotes religion or promotes bigger government, they have plans. They have think tanks. They have, if you joined the Democratic Party, or you joined your nearby church, well, not your necessarily nearby church, but what I'm getting at is you can get in on the in group of religion or politics and find out that they have a plan. They know how they're going to make themselves bigger. So those of us who don't like religion and governments, we need a plan. They just assume if you don't like it that we must be violent, blah blah blah. It's a bunch of bullshit, and I'm done with it. We need a plan just like they have. We need to like come together. Yeah, exactly. People are just used to it being part of life. And the thing is, what both governments and churches have learned is the best way to control your citizens and get them into apathy or just compliance is to basically um, over overwhelm their senses. Basically, if you tax them high enough and fucking control their lives enough, just make their life so unbearable that basically they have to work two, three, four jobs just to fucking be able to go to the store and pick up food for the week. Most people working more than 40 hours a week are not thinking, yeah, I'd like to make society better. They're just thinking, how do I make it through another fucking week? You know, I used to work 40 hours a week, and I couldn't even talk to you like this. I just felt exhausted all the time, and I got a temporary reprieve where I don't have to work 40 hours a week. I don't know how long it's going to last, but for the time being, I'm free. I can speak my mind, and I can come up with ideas. But the moment I have to go back to 40 hours and that's not enough, and maybe I have to work 50 hours, I'll be just like the rest of the sheep. That's what I'm afraid of. Is I'll just be too exhausted to try and do anything. So now's the time. Yeah, I mean, Stormageddon. Isn't that what the character Loki said in the Avengers? I can't remember what he exactly said, but it was fucking hilarious. He's just like, yeah, you're all so lazy. You need a ruler. He's like, basically, he would. I mean, when I watched that movie, it was more comedic. So he didn't come off as like demonic. He didn't come off. He just came off like he wanted to rule people, and it was just sort of a joke because it wasn't like he's making a plan to rule them in some evil way or a good way. He didn't know what his fucking plan was if everybody gave in him. It was just the fact that he wanted to rule them and had just have them be obedient sheep. Um, it didn't matter whether his rule was going to be was awesome and was horrible. It didn't matter what his goal was in ruling them. It's just the fact that they're going to all be practically slaves to him, and he's just going to get off on his power of it, which automatically makes him bad, regardless of whether society was got better or worse. Um, Yeah, exactly. He's a narcissist. So I guess it's basically he would have just like worshipped himself, and that's all he really wanted. Um, and he just wanted people to give him attention and power. It's almost like a celebrity. Like it's just like the celebrities don't want to rule the world, but they want the same attention and power that he is requesting. Um, but the joke I was making was that Yeah, he's a great actor. Was that he just do you remember whatever his line was when he basically told people like, "You want me to rule you"? I mean that because I think that's what you're getting at. He there was a line where Loki was just like, you know, basically he's saying if there were no heroes here, if there was no Avengers, I could take over without doing anything because you want it. It is horrible. It's like some rapist saying to some woman, "You asked for it." You know, it's horrible because the woman don't ask for it. But when Loki said, "You all want to be ruled," um, there's really no argument against it. I mean, I think some people stood up against him, but the majority of the people made it clear that they were just, yeah. I know damn well he said something. It made me cringe because I just imagined that people were right. I mean that he was right that the majority of people, um, yeah, one guy stood up, which is awesome, and we're all behind him, you know. But people may have not noticed the fact that the majority of people just were nodding their heads. They all fell to their knee, and I think that's what you're getting at is people like having rulers. What's going on? Wow, how do I say that person's name? Did I call you Lucy or Luck or Lucci? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, look, he's a cool character. I've been into the study of mythology and stuff like that since a very young age, which is why I thought it was kind of amusing that Judaism or Christianity would stand up and go, "No, but we're different." I'm like, how the fuck are you different? You know, well, we got a god and he's half god and half man. Okay, well, the Greeks had Hercules and he was a half god and a half man. So again, how are you different? Um, So I think I have a couple favorite mythologies. I think I was very into the Greek and the Norse. Um, I loved the Pandora's box because I hated it. I mean, in other words, I think the Garden of Eden story in the Jewish Christian myth is based on Pandora, just making a woman the bad guy. So I guess I happen to get books that were well written because these stories are only as interesting as how they're translated. So that when you're reading it, you actually can envision it happening or the point of it. Now Norse myth, yeah, Norse myth is very interesting. And um, if a Jewish or Christian person talks about apocalypse, they go, "Oh, you mean Ragnarok? How do you spell it? Pronounce it Ragnarok?" Because their story is very similar to the Buddhist story of Shambhala, that we have like a 2,000 year cycle, and the whole world's destroyed, and out of that comes a new world. Um, Most of the religions, mythologies, um, the end of the world was actually also the beginning of the world. It wasn't until organized religion that they got rid of this circle, this cycle, where the end turns into the beginning, turns into another end, the myth of the phoenix rising from the ashes. Oh yeah, definitely. The Odin story is definitely similar to the Jesus story. There was Odin. There was Mithras. There's a couple different gods from a couple different mythologies where the god was came back to life and was hung on a tree. Um, but see, there's myths. He hung himself on a tree to gain knowledge. So all the basically Christianity and Judaism, they turn religion on its to backwards. Whereas Prometheus fought for mankind and tried to bring us fire and tried to bring us civilization, trying to bring us knowledge. And Odin died hung on a tree to bring us knowledge. Whereas the Jewish and the Christian religions that we're stuck with today have a myth of Eden where eating from the tree of knowledge is a sin and you're a bad person for doing it. And you should never seek knowledge and you should just be sheep and follow what they tell you. So, and nobody's supposed to figure it out either. Everybody's supposed to hear this story and they're supposed to be so afraid of hell and all the other bullshit in their myth that they're not supposed to go, "Huh, it's kind of funny that you claim to worship a God who's all knowing and all loving, and first thing this God commands you to do is not have knowledge." Um, that's a little suspicious to me. There's something wrong with your reasoning. Abraham death cults. That's what they are. Um, it's like based on cannibalism and shit, eating the flesh and drinking the blood. I mean, it's a fucking vampiric cult. If I started a religion tomorrow um, that was similar to that and didn't use the word Jesus or whatever, didn't use any of the things that make them all comfortable, and I just sit there, yeah, we need flesh, we need blood, and when the blood is let, then that washes. People would be thinking I was a sick motherfucker. They would think there's something wrong. I mean, everything that Christianity accuses Satanism of sounds really similar to what their monotheistic religions do. You know, blood sacrifice and human sacrifice for repentance. How's it different from the Satanists that they claim are evil? Yeah, so this trying to do a broadcast without a tripod, but I'll do it. And then what's the Catholic called, the consecration or something, where they're eating um, crackers and they're drinking wine. They're like, yeah, we're eating his flesh and his blood, so we can have a. I mean, seriously, what would you think of it? What would any person think of that religion? Yeah, exactly, transubstantiation or whatever it is. What would a typical uh, religious person think? Not somebody who goes to church every day, but just in general, just accepts it and doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. Somebody who doesn't really know. The average person doesn't really have time to dedicate their lives to it, but think it's all good. So basically, if they didn't, most people don't know with it. Eating the wafers and all that. Most people, a majority of people aren't Catholics. They don't know all these rituals. What would those people think if if they saw this stuff going on and the people involved weren't wearing anything recognizable as Catholicism and so on? They're doing the same. They're like reading flesh, reading blood. What if they didn't have the Bible there and they just did those things? What would people think of them? I'm wondering. What would they be like? There must be some truth to this. Must be good. Or would they be like freaked out? Like, what kind of cult is this? It's like you go into the building, you see them do something like that, and then you hear the word Jesus. Oh, it's okay then. What if they didn't use that name? What if they just said, "Yeah, we're just eating flesh and blood," and what people think is normal then? Yeah, I was just in a broadcast with why can't I remember his name because it's almost 2 in the morning. With an atheist, and I was gonna get into him on different aspects of how atheists can still be philosophers and we can still question things, and we don't have to adhere to specific views. You can reject religion and still have an interest in metaphysics, and I never got to it because he had to go. Oh my gosh, what was that called? I saw that on a Penn and Teller episode where they're making fun of environmentalism and trying to make people pay carbon tax, and they compared it to that buying forgiveness. I forget what they called it, but yeah, people would actually. Uh, but basically, that's no different than what our government does. When they try and create income tax or carbon tax or anything like that, it's the same shit. It's no different with the mafia when the mafia wants you to pay protection money. It's like, it sure would be a shame if your business burned down. I'd hate that to happen to you. I'm protecting you out of the kindness of my heart. If you would just pay us some money, it'd be, there are a lot of businesses have been burning down around here, and yours would be fine. Indulgences, that's what it was called. Yep, Zoe knows. So since YouNow is not telling me how many people are in my room, I know there's at least 2 people, and it's not telling me that. How many people are in my room? I guess there's just 2 people. Well, at least I can ignore when it goes 120 120. It's really weird that it keeps jumping down and up and down in viewers when I'm not really jumping up and down in viewers. So Zoe, when are you gonna write this essay? Get that with the money. Stairway. They're buying a stairway to heaven. And people thought that was a satanic song. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what you're doing. 4 views. So you're showing 4, but there's only 2. I'm showing 1. You know what I mean? If I, you know, it's been a long time since I broadcast, so I'm not saying I will probably have 100 viewers anytime soon. I don't think I ever got past 30. But if I did, I wouldn't know. It's kind of frustrating. Is yours showing 4? I mean, how does this work? Are there like hidden ones? Can people be in here and just be invisible? I don't get it. All right, that's fine. You know, one thing I was confused on. I don't know if either one of you. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if either one of you know, but every time you get so many fans, you're supposed to go up from whatever to captain to whatever the ranks are. And I thought mine said that if you got to 200, you'd be jumped up. And I got past 200, and it's not jumped up. So I don't know what their game is on that either. Illuminati. Oh gosh, man! I just watched a documentary on the Illuminati, and it was pretty good. I can't remember what the name of it was. It was on Hulu, and it was good because yeah, I got the rest of the checkpoints. So I don't I don't know what I thought there should be 3 stars next to my camera or whatever, and I unless my eyesight's like horrible, I think there's only 2 stars. So I thought it said I have to get up to 200 fans, and it took me forever to do it. And I thought when I got it, at least I'd get to captain, and then I could imagine that I could get to the next level. But I can't even imagine it. I don't know. So you see, it's only got 2. I thought I would ask. I don't want to become obsessed with this shit again. I was trying to build this thing up. I was gonna go into trying to get good enough to get partner and all that. You know, if it happened, awesome. But I ain't holding my breath on that shit. Really not. I mean, I spread myself too thin. I try and do the broadcast. I was trying to do my book. I was looking for another job, looking to get into school, or trying to get some sort of training in something else. I can't spread myself so thin and to just do 15 different things and expect. It's like it would be. It's not like buying 5 lottery tickets. It's like going into a casino and playing 5 different tables at one time. What philosophers have written about philosophical anarchism? You know, maybe I should just get away from the book that's been draining all my energy and come back to it because I don't think I think anarchy fortunately has been mostly political, which is why I came up with philosophical anarchism as a philosopher. I was just like I like the idea of smaller and smaller government and people being more and more free. Um, and the closest we've come to philosophical anarchism is just the government that governs least governs best, and are having our constitution and trying to force the checks and balances. But the government doesn't really follow these checks and balances. It's just all the politicians were former lawyers, and they just find ways around the shit. Um, so to me, if you study the history of anarchism, you're just going to keep coming up with political definitions: communist anarchist, capitalist anarchist, socialist anarchist. It's all political positions. Everything's political. Everything's got a movement and ideology behind it. That's why I wanted philosophical anarchism. My thing is let's just take the principles of anarchism and see if they are justified as a philosophy. In other words, the principles of individual and all that. Strip the politics from it. Strip all the politics from it, and say, is this achievable? Is it beneficial? Do we want to do it? How could we do it? Um, and if we achieve a better society, I don't really care what label you put on it. I'm like every human being, so I have an ego just like everybody else. So if we achieved a great society in the next couple of years, and people put the label on it, philosophic or spiritual anarchism on it, my ego, I'd be like, yeah, that's my idea. But the ego is all happy for, like you said, narcissism, just bettering myself. But really, having a better society is much more important to me than just getting patted on the back for coming up with some label. Um, libertarianism. When I first heard about it, I was like very interested in it and thought it was really going somewhere. And it seemed like there was a lot of points in time when I went to their website. I just felt like I was reading something that was super conservative in some way or super liberal. It's like they're trying to play to both parties, and it just it just seemed like they didn't have the balls to create their own platform. It's like whatever gets their foot in the door, I guess. What the fuck? Now YouNow saying I chat says chat with 150 viewers. There ain't no fucking way I have 150 viewers. What's going on, source? I'm not trying to go into just like how many cuss words can I say in one night, but JH. I wish I had 150 viewers. I have 3. What the fuck is YouNow doing? 5 viewers. Okay, that's cool. But I swear to you, um, it says chat with, and the numbers are jumping all over the place. I wish I could take a picture of my phone right now. It's like you have 159 chat with 159 viewers, a chat with 149, 151 is jumping up and down like it's just ridiculous. I mean, the only reason I'm not intimidated by the 151 viewers is because I know they're not in here. So, are you writing your essay then? People aren't ready for a new philosophy. Um, I'm not trying to get people to accept a specific philosophy. I'm trying to get people to become philosophers, to give a shit. People put all their eggs in one basket. They put it into politics. They want to vote. They get real passionate about the Republican Party. I just think of it as one party. I mean, Zoe, it sounded like you had all the ideas behind it. Did you do any of the research yet? My eyes are like. I mean, the goal. I'm not. When you want people to, if you're trying to convert everyone to Christianity or Judaism or Wiccanism or even atheism, you're trying to start like a movement towards religion or towards a certain political ideology or whatever. Um, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not like, here's a philosophy and you should all follow it. That's not where I'm going. Um, I really want people, the atheist got it started by saying, let's be skeptical, let's challenge things, let's question things. But they challenge and question what they don't like. They don't challenge and question their own views, although some of them do. Um, the only atheist that I think is doing along the lines really close to what I want to do is on YouTube, Cosmic Skeptic, because a lot of times, sometimes he'll say, even if you're right, um, and he'll make all his points, and he'll, shove his points down your throat. But a lot of times, he'll actually really make clear that he's thought about the viewpoints of the other side, which is good for me because um, a philosopher is not supposed to take a position of um, that because atheism is right, then therefore there are no metaphysical questions to ask. There's nothing we don't, if you're skeptical of things or you don't like religion and you study religion, it doesn't make any damn sense to you. It doesn't mean that we should just kill philosophy off, and that science has now proven that you don't have a soul and there's no God and there's no free will, um, and as a philosopher, I want people to look at those questions as philosophical questions. It's not a question whether you agree with me or not, or whether you think these things are real or not. It's a question of how you are looking at to try and find out if they're real. 140 viewers, sure. So since I have 140 viewers, can all 140 people fan me so I can get another 140 fans? And then if even half of them give me likes, that would be cool. This YouNow is this bald-faced lying to me right now. I think I still only got 2 viewers. Atheism is supposed to be about not accepting extraordinary claims without evidence. I do agree that too many are closed-minded. Yeah, of course you want to accept extraordinary claims without evidence. So here's the thing, though. Religious people who argue against the atheist make extraordinary claims. Like there's an invisible man in the sky, and he just happens to have the exact personality of the people in their holy book. And he has magic powers, and he created the earth out of nothing, and that's that explains evolution and the Big Bang Theory, which it doesn't. That's pretty extraordinary claims. Then they claim that their God, which is outside of space and time, became a human being and walked around in the flesh, and because he died and blood all over the ground, that means if you kill, rape, and murder, it's okay because you just asked for forgiveness. That goes beyond extraordinary. It starts to border on just insane. It's not just that there's no evidence for any of this shit. It's that it makes no sense, and if it did, I wouldn't want to live in that world. But to claim that to claim that consciousness is already been explained, and that the human brain just manipulates symbols, and we're just animals with like computers in our brains that manipulate symbols, and that consciousness is an illusion and we don't have any free will, and that you can scientifically prove that because neuroscience, like Sam Harris, studies the human brain and what neuroscience teaches us, and that therefore that all the philosophical questions about consciousness are just solved, and it's just neurons in the brain bouncing off each other, manipulating symbols, and there's nobody actually home. There's nobody there. We just think we're people. We just think that we have consciousness, and we're just imagining that we have free will or that we're aware of anything. And it's all scientifically proven. There's no philosophical questions anywhere in what I'm saying. There's nothing to question. There's nothing to be skeptical about because science has it all solved. I'm skeptical about that. And I think that if there were something that I could call God, it would have to do with consciousness. But it wouldn't be an invisible man in the sky, blah, blah, blah. So now atheists throw at me what I always threw at people when I was a hardcore atheist, which is, well, if you're not talking about what religion means by God, then why are you using the word God? And I used to argue that all the time. And I'm not using when I use the metaphysical question of whether a God exists or not, I mean, like, I guess I would say the small gods is like small g, small o, small d, meaning the gods that we know as mythology. And then the monotheistic God is the ones that the Christian or the Jewish and the Muslims are argue that there's one God above the other gods with a capital G, and it's still a person. It's no different than the small g, except that more people believe in it and they think it's more realistic when it's not. But the concept I argue for, if it's a concept, is capital G, capital O, capital D, meaning something that is way beyond any human being has ever tried to imagine, and is not a person, and has nothing to do with any of these mythologies. If science definitely figured out that we don't have free will or consciousness without the brain, what then? First, if science was able to prove that, they would have to give me evidence that would basically shut down all the philosophical questions. So I'm not arguing that it's impossible, because science has shut down a lot of philosophical questions. But when you shut down a question, it doesn't mean you shut down every question related to that question. So even though science pretty much backs up evolution, it doesn't explain how evolution created self-awareness. It can show a benefit of consciousness, but being aware of yourself is going beyond just being aware. All right, Zoe. I'm skeptical that the brain just manipulates symbols and it creates language, and I'm just an ape with words coming out of my mouth that don't really mean anything, and there's nobody really aware of it. I'm just saying these words, and you're responding. Basically, when my neurons fire in my brain, it creates a chain reaction of symbols based on language, based on experience that I've had since I was a child. And so the probability of me saying certain words is higher than other probabilities. And I'm not really coming up with any of this. It's just words coming out of my mouth. And that is a stimulus to your brain, no different than somebody slapping you or sun getting in your eyes. And it just has neurons firing in your brain so that you throw out symbols that make sense to me. And we're not really having a conversation. You're not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. We just think we are. I'm not buying that shit. And even if whether it's true or not, I don't think science can prove that. I mean, yeah, we need science as part of the solution. You can't figure this out without science. But I think, philosophers exist for a purpose, is my point. We never would have got this far without philosophy. It's like science pushes us forward and religion pulls us back. But with philosophy, without philosophy, science would just it would push us forward, but there'd be no engine in the car. It would just be like a cart with wheels, and wheels are much more efficient at moving us places than walking. But without any sort of energy behind it, you'd be just sitting in a wheeled chariot waiting for it to do something. With no engine in it, or not without 5 horses in front of it, you're not moving very fast. Thank you. I mean, what I'm getting at here is, I would call it, when I think about it, I call it the Fred Flintstone effect. If you watch the Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones, the cartoon, the joke is that they invented the car, but they didn't invent the engine. So to me, science without philosophy is like a Flintstone car. All the theory and all the physics behind those wheels, the steering wheel, everything you see in the Flintstones, everything's there. The steering wheel, the wheels, the seat to sit in, the whole car's there. There's just no engine. And so technically, you can move the car forward with those wheels. Unfortunately, it's, Fred Flintstone has to, he runs, you see his feet hitting the ground to move the car. So to me, that defeats the whole fucking purpose of having wheels. So my idea is that the whole putting together that invention, that car, based on scientific, it's brilliant, and science, and I'll give it all the credit. But without people questioning, what we're getting out of the science, or what the scientific, like in quantum physics, scientists took a stance that there isn't, not only is there no soul, but don't expect the brain to have any quantum effects, because quantum physics has to do with subatomic particles, and therefore, because of decoherence or something, there's no way that the brain could have quantum effects, and so there's no room for indeterminism. So therefore, we're determined by our brains. And I've argued since I was 16 that quantum physics does most likely affect the brain, because it affects the nature of reality on every level. And that it's a better understanding of physics than Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics is just convenient. Newtonian physics is the physics that represents reality in a convenient way without actually being reality. Quantum physics is what represents reality as it really is. But because quantum physicists, at least the outspoken ones, are mostly atheists, they don't want to leave room for anything like that. And so they'll argue the opposite. They'll act like Newtonian physics is real and quantum physics is what? But they'll admit how quantum physics is so accurate, for predicting things. So basically, they're admitting it's a real science out of one side of the mouth. The other side of the mouth, they're not. They're saying it's just, just a convenient way of wording things. I'm like, well, y'all doing a lot of fucking work and have a lot of math backing it up, and are claiming that it's very more accurate than any other form of physics, and then claiming it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I do lean towards pantheism, that the universe is God, if there's a such thing as God. I would not argue with an atheist and say that proves there's a God. I'm just saying that from my experiences, if I can trust my experiences, and from studying philosophy, the most probable understanding of God is that the universe has awareness, and somehow, the physics and the philosophy still has to be done on it. this is creating reality. What's going on, Just Cozy? Yeah, well, that's why I call it spiritual atheism, mystical atheism, spiritual atheism. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's because it is a form of atheism, and if you go to the pantheist website, I forgot what it's called, but there's a major pantheist website. Um, they're mostly atheist, and they back up atheism because what's going on, Panther? Um, because you don't really need to believe any religion. You don't have to believe in any invisible men in the sky. You don't have to believe gods or God is a person or anything supernatural. You just believe. I don't like to use the word believe. We know the universe exists. We know consciousness exists. So I'm making, I guess, what you would call an extraordinary claim that the universe is conscious, but I don't think it's um, that much more extraordinary than to say that my brain is conscious. You may jump back and go, the universe is conscious. What the fuck? There's no evidence for that at all. I'm like, well, if you personally didn't experience consciousness, there'd be no evidence that the brain was conscious either. What is your position on Earth-based polytheism? I mean, polytheism is a belief that many gods exist, and I've always argued as an atheist that um, if the law of multiplicity, I've been able to pull laws out of the air, and I have no explanation for how these laws come into being. How I even knew about these laws, but they make sense to me. And the law of multiplicity is, if I see one tree, I'm going to say there's probably millions of trees. There's forest. I'm not going to see one tree and go, huh, it's interesting, that one object. If I meet you in person and go, oh, look, there's another human being, I'm not going to go, I thought I was the only person on Earth, but now I met you, so I know there's at least two people. I'm going to say, you know what, for every one thing, there's probably many. And so if I see one star in the sky, I'm going to say there's probably many stars. And so as I got older and found out that our sun is not the only sun, that other systems have suns and have planets in their system, then there's other galaxies. The law of multiplicity made sense to me, and I was just like, okay, so if there's one God, there's many gods, and the monotheists that say there's only one God and there can't be many gods, I'm like, well, all your arguments that there aren't many gods are no different than an atheist arguing that there's not even one. The atheists always say, well, we just have one less God than you. So my argument is, if you prove to me there one tree exists, I'm gonna think there's probably plenty of trees. If you're gonna show me one spaceship or UFO or whatever, I'm gonna think there must be other UFOs. I don't think a whole civilization arose and created one UFO. Well, I mean, it applies more to life, like animate things, and non-life. What's going on, Zoe? So I'm gonna say, if there's something as incredibly weird as a god, like a human being without a body that has effect on our physical reality, um, then why wouldn't I postulate that there's hundreds of them? And it's kind of weird that not only is that a likelihood, but polytheism came before monotheism. So religion always argues, well, people have always believed in God, so that proves that people have always believed in many gods, so that proves there's many gods. So yeah, I think polytheism is, if you're gonna believe in gods, why stop at one? It's like potato chips, right? Oh yeah, I understand what you're saying. So yeah, the pagans had a great respect for the earth, um, and they saw, it started off with nature spirits and spirits in the trees and the animals. Everything's alive and aware. So before gods, there was animism, which is every living being has a soul. So the trees have souls, the plants have souls, the animals have souls. Um, I think if souls exist, then every conscious being has a soul. So I don't really see animism as some primitive viewpoint. I see it as either souls exist or souls don't exist. And if souls exist, then anything with any level of awareness has souls, can experience pain. Um, and so there was much more reverence for the earth if you think that every animal, every creature, every plant, everything experiences consciousness or possible pain. You're gonna have much more respect. And religion came in and said, no, you're going to worship a one God and nothing has a soul except humans, which basically means you're worshiping yourselves. So yeah, by getting rid of paganism and polytheism, we kind of try to get rid of every living being having a soul, and just reserve it to the humans. And of course, if you read the biblical story, God breathed the life into Adam, not Eve. So there's an implication there that men have souls and women don't. So I mean, religion to me just seems to be like, if there's a soul, then only humans have it, and wink, wink, males have it, but women don't. So I mean, it just seems more of a political position than a way to oppress people or deny living things their rights than it is a way of telling the truth about anything. If we combine a reverence for the earth and modern secular society, we can get better faster. Yeah, definitely. Your soul's in a process of dying. We gotta help Zoe. She's like killing her soul off. What time is it? So I'm gonna have to. It's past 2 in the morning. I'm gonna have to end soon. I mean, I would stay up all night if I didn't have to work. I should have broadcast last night. What's going on, Bailey? I'm trying to. I'm trying to get this lit. Me and Stormageddon were like going at it hardcore. I mean, I don't have to wake up real early, but I definitely am gonna have to sleep at some point. Where's B? B. I mean, you're just giving me a letter B. Who's B? You're gonna make me feel dumb because I got 200 fans, and when you say B, I'm not sure who B is. Unless you're B is for bacon. What the hell? You're killing my poor animals. You're talking about animals having souls, and now you're eating B Man. Duh. B Man doesn't come on my broadcast a lot. I used to go in his broadcasts a lot, and then a couple times I got trolled, and I thought it was B Man. Are you being annoyed or annoying? Which one are you being? Annoyed or annoying? Because you said both, Zoe. Because Zoe, you just said you have a soul, you don't have a soul, and your soul's dying. So which is it? All I mean by soul is just consciousness. That I'm conscious and I'm aware. And that it's real. It's a real experience. It's not my brain just throwing neurons around. Then from there, I will get philosophical and say that, I'm not sure whether my brain is producing this awareness. And then if it wasn't for quantum physics, I would probably have given up the idea. I wouldn't be sitting there going magic and supernatural and all that crap. I would just be like, but because of quantum physics, I think there's a point to another level of reality. So as long as it has to do with reality, and it's not just some magical thing made up or by religion, then I can deal with it. If it doesn't have to do with any type of physics or reality, then I can't really support the idea. It's too much. Bailey says that's too much. You're making my brain hurt. I mean, the thing is, what happens to the soul when you die is, um, it's a hard question because my question is, what is death? Is if you are your body and you are your body dies and your brain shuts off and then you cease to exist, then we're not talking about anything. There's nothing to talk about. Um, if awareness has always existed, then it always will exist. And how that's possible is beyond me, but how awareness is possible, period, is beyond me. I mean, I lean towards reincarnation, but that's because I think that awareness has to exist. If it existed, it has to continue to exist. What's going on? I am Becca. I'll just call you Becca. My point is, I remember that I was arguing with a Christian one time, and I stepped into a park, and the Christians was like, what happened? What do you, if you don't believe in what I believe, then you know, um, your soul's going to stop existing. It's going to go to hell. So this is going to happen to it. Or I was like, you can't even make up your mind what's going to happen to it. And I said to him, I said, basically, I said, you know, if something has no end, then it has no beginning either. So in other words, the reason why Christians and Jews and people of different religions get the idea of a God that has no beginning or end is because they're saying that there's once a being, if a being has been aware, then with no end, then it also had no beginning either. It's always existed. So my argument was either the soul exists or it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, then end of topic. But if it does exist, I said, you said when I die, I'm going to live forever if I believe such and such. My thing is, if my soul is going to exist forever into the future, then by normal reasoning, it must have existed forever into the past. If it had a beginning, it's going to have an end. And if it's not going to have an end, then it's never had a beginning either. And that's where reincarnation comes in. So you said you want to be sure before you believe in reincarnation. The thing is, the only way to be sure of something is to experience it. So, I did meditation and I've done astral projection and things like that. And I've studied and I've read all the viewpoints for things and all the viewpoints against things. So you have to study philosophy and see what the arguments are for and against it. And then you have to have experiences, out of body experiences where you quit, where you're not convinced that you are your body anymore. If you think you are your body, then try and convince yourself of reincarnation at the same time. You have to take the word reincarnation. Well, yeah, your body will be used by plants as nutrients and stuff, but that's assuming that you are your body again. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. So physically, if your body decomposes into the ground and the plants use that and the animals eat that, then those animals are eaten by another human being, and then that human being's born. Then that's you being born again. So technically, you could say that you're born again because when you die, your body goes in the ground, which gives nutrients to the plants, which is eaten by animals, which is eaten by humans. And then if that human had not eaten that animal, that ate that plant, that ate you, then there'd be no nutrients for the baby being born into the next life. So that's you being born again. Yeah, exactly. All the atoms in our bodies have been parts of Earth, germs, plants, animals, and stars. Um, so basically, matter can't be created or destroyed. It just constantly is transformed. And so the thing is a lot of atheists are materialist and say, I am just my body, so my body dies, I'm gone, and they may be right. But my thing is what these atheists are ignoring is that Einstein equals mc squared, energy equals matter times the velocity of light squared. So in other words, they're ignoring energy in the equation. They're basically, this is flesh, this is matter. So they're saying, okay, that's all there is. You don't have to know the math of quantum physics to understand the basic premise that matter and energy interact with each other, and that energy is something real. As energy is not supernatural, but it's not matter either. I mean, it is matter technically; it's another form of matter. Um, yes, I mean, read books on quantum physics. Look into it. I mean, I could recommend books by Fred Alan Wolf. Um, and you don't have to, if you read like Dreaming Universe by Fred Alan Wolf, he's a quantum physicist. You don't have to agree with anything he fucking says. You can question everything he says, but he is basing it on quantum physics, and he's not like Deepak Chopra. He really is a quantum physicist. And energy in your body is lost as heat after you die. Okay, yeah. Again, if you are your body, then that means um, when you talk about energy, you're talking about the calories that you burn with food and so on. I'm talking about subtle energy. I'm talking about energy like the actual subatomic particles. And again, I can't prove that subatomic particles leave your body and is your soul. It'd be an interesting thing if somebody could prove that, you would get like a Nobel Prize. You would win all kinds of. I know you'd get the Nobel Prize if you could prove that something leaves the body on a quantum level, um, and that technically could be the soul. But even if you could prove that, um, atheists who are like really diehard atheists would even if you had something that you could measure on a quantum level that left the body when you die, the the atheist would say that doesn't prove there's a soul, and it doesn't 100% prove it. It would definitely bring the question open again, which is again why philosophy exists, is for questions, not for answers. Philosophers are here to ask the questions. Scientists are here to provide the answers. But science can't provide the answers if they just start shutting all the questions down and refuse to answer any questions and just answer the questions that are easy or already have been answered. Ebola. Zoe, why would the hell would you want Ebola? Yeah, exactly, Storm again. It really would. Um, if you could prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt and got the Nobel Prize for it, for one thing, if my goal, as far as my experiences in philosophy and my personal experiences of being able to do things like astral projection and lucid dreaming, things that convince me that reincarnation might be real, the soul might be real, um, is to get people to consider the idea that we are more than our body, not to convince them to join blah 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 religion. I hate religion. I have no respect for religion. I have respect for religious people because I respect for all people, but I don't have respect for religion at all, and I think their explanations are bullshit. But if I could scientifically prove tomorrow that some quantum effect leaves the body or subatomic particles, something like that, to prove the validity of the soul possible. All the religions would jump on it. Christianity, Judaism, Muslims, they'd all jump up. Oh, that's the soul, so that proves my Bible or my Quran's true. And it doesn't prove their shit's true. Subatomic particles stay attached to an atom. How could they leave the body independent of the atom if the atom is left and the energy is lost as heat? I don't think subatomic particles stay attached to an atom. At this time, at 2 a.m. in the freaking morning, I would have to like write your question down and start taking it apart and looking at it scientifically. I do not have the energy right now to get on Google and get back into what I know about quantum physics and study it, and so I can answer your question in an honest way. 229 viewers, mother fricker, YouNow. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to get on the quantum level, not because I am making arguments. I did open the door, and you're asking me a very honest question, but my brain is not awake enough to try and figure this out for you right now. But if when atoms break down to subatomic particles, I was just okay. I'm not even gonna try it because at 2 in the morning, I was like actually gonna get off the broadcast about 20 minutes ago. My brain's like half awake. Um, you're asking very legitimate questions. I'm not trying to bullshit you or whatever, but I'm not going to pretend to have answers I don't have because I should look it up. If it was not almost 3 in the morning, I would definitely be Googling it right now. And in fact, I'm feeling really guilty because I'm not Googling it. Because once I start to Google it, then I'm going to start to research it, and I'll try and prove my point. I'll either be right or wrong, which is awesome. Everything I would want to do in my broadcast, but not 3 in the freaking morning. Because it's almost 2:40 in the morning. No, I mean no, Zoe, you definitely are. It's like you're asking a legitimate question, and I'm pretty convinced that you know that people could do the experiment I'm talking about and see if there's any change in the subatomic particles, and it would be such advanced science. It would go beyond, even if I could figure out the answer to your question. It'd probably go beyond that. Let me Google it real quick before I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to Google half awake here. Let's just say what happens. This might work. It might not. What happens to subatomic particles when I'm trying to. If you make a sentence too long, Google will fuck you. It won't give you the answer. But I'll try it. When the body dies, let's try that. Because we're asking questions that scientists don't typically ask, which is it still proves my point. Even if I'm wrong about all this, everything I've argued tonight, it proves my point that we should be asking these philosophical questions and not just saying that I'm just my brain and I'm just atoms and my body decomposes and that's all I know and that's all I want to know. Okay, here we go. ResearchGate. Let's see if ResearchGate will give me any type of clue to this shit. I'm going to try and figure out a general answer to your question without getting into it for another hour, and then I'm going to call it a night. Now, I mean, if I had your answer right now, I mean, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, I'd probably get 30 viewers in here just arguing with me. It'd be fun as hell. Let's see if I could even get close to an answer. ResearchGate, I'm not joining you. You won't. Okay, here we go. What happens to our particles when we die? 4 years ago. Well, they asked the question. Where's their answer? Particles are not living things, so they can't die. So I like that answer. Particles can regroup in new states, but they cannot have memories. Now that we don't know, because particles regroup in new states in our brain, and basically the neurons and parts of our brain die off every day, and yet every morning you wake up thinking you're the same person. Are you the same person? These are questions that science, I'm not saying can't answer, but they can't answer without waking up a philosopher and asking them a few questions, or getting the philosopher to ask them a few questions. And there has to be some interaction between philosophy and science if we're going to get to the answer. If they're saying particles can't have memories, but how can neurons have memories? Where do memories come from? We know that the brain has something to do with it. I'm not going to sit there and Sam Harris, the neuroscientist, would probably put me in my place if I try to argue the brain had nothing to do with memories. I know it does, and I know that brain damage can cause problems in retrieving memory. But again, that's assuming that you are your memory. That if you lose your memory, you're not you anymore. Particles exist in continuous present. They have no past nor future. That's interesting. I don't know who this person is that's answering this, but they're giving a pretty interesting answer. Okay, there are some intriguing aspects related to the informational content of particles. If the mere existence of a particle could act as a signal, then the interaction of that particle with another system can transfer some energy and information equivalent with a kind of memory to the target system. Now that's interesting because he just said particles can't have memories, and the same person is saying this. Let's see. Now, for those of you who are really interested in the quantum effects on the brain, and basically if there's anything to do with quantum physics in the brain or quantum physics in biology, like how it affects everything in reality, like I said at the beginning of this, I've argued that there could be quantum effects in the brain and it could allow for consciousness or the soul. And back when I was 16, first making my arguments, people were saying that there's just no possible truth to the matter. Quantum's too tiny and the brain's too big and it can't affect it. There's actually a new field of science called quantum biology. Right. Well, yeah, it is complicated, but I was going to recommend a book, and it's called Life on the Edge. And so it's not written as a college textbook that would force you to learn quantum physics, which is mostly math that's way beyond me and most people. And it does answer a lot of the questions. and you can look up the writer on TED Talks and watch him just give a speech on it if you don't feel like reading the book. But here it is. It's called Life on the Edge, and it's called The Coming of Quantum Biology, because quantum biology is now a new field in science. And I predicted it was going to happen. I predicted that quantum physics does affect biological systems, and it does have impact on the brain. They even have a chapter on the brain in here. And they argued that it doesn't prove anything supernatural, which I never argued it did. But at the same time, they admit that it can have something to do with consciousness. They just haven't figured out what it does, if what it would have to do with consciousness. The chapters, it's chapter 8 in the book. It's called Mind. So if you read the book, it's very interesting. It start off, what is life? So they start to try to define life. And then by chapter 4, they're actually telling you how quantum physics even enters into biology. And if you, like I said, if you don't have the time or the patience for it to read a book like this, I mean, it's an awesome book. And I haven't read it page by page because I was just using it for research. But I think his name is, I don't remember which one gives the TED Talk. It's either, I think it's John Joe McFadden or Jim Ali Colley. But one of these guys gives a TED Talk, and they pretty much cover a lot of the things in the book. Drunk face, what you doing, man? I'm about to go to bed. I just wanted to try and give a hint of what we were discussing on the brain and quantum physics. Does John Joe, does he do the video? You got it? Oh, awesome. Okay. So, can you post a link to it for people? What's going on, drunk face? You caught me. I shouldn't have waited so late to broadcast. You caught me right as I'm wrapping up my broadcast. Because it's almost 3 a.m. and there's no way. I mean, I could stay up, but I still have to work. Thank you, Stormageddon. Yeah, for those of you who are interested, said, well, that book sounds really, really awesome, and I might read it, but I don't have the time or the energy to read that whole book. Or maybe you don't want to buy it, but if you do, just read chapter 8 on the mind, and you know. But watch the TED Talk, because it covers a lot of what's in the book. So if you decide to read the book, you already have in your head what they're getting at. And it's really easy to understand when he does his TED Talk. 8 a.m. So you're just waking up and I'm just about to go to sleep. That's funny. But I highly recommend that you go to the link that Stormageddon posted for the TED Talk, where basically this person, John Joe McFadden, who's co-writer of this book, basically breaks down the most basic details of the book and what quantum biology is, and it's really, really interesting. Oh, is it the other guy? It's Jim Akali is the one that does the TED Talk? Okay. I can't remember which one it was. I think John Joe McFadden is the one that I was trying to get his research papers on. Yeah, quantum biology. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I'm not anti-science. I'm anti-closed-mindedness, and I know that from age 16 to age 30, I was arguing passionately that about the multiverse and quantum physics and having to do with the brain, and was just getting shut down by every skeptic there was. And so skepticism isn't always good, because they're so skeptical they won't even look at the possibility. And now quantum biology is an actual field in science. I mean, it's just starting. I know I should stay up, but it's almost 3 in the morning, and I have to catch my bus at about 10 a.m. So 7 hours of sleep is good, but 4 hours of sleep would suck shit. Even though it's supposed to be a slow day tomorrow. Knock on wood. Do y'all want me to broadcast tomorrow night? Will everybody come in, invite your fans, and get people in here? Yeah, quantum biology is a new field, and it is accepted by the scientific community because if you watch that TED Talk, you'll see how it started, where they did research on photosynthesis, and how quantum physics allow the plants to collect so much energy from the sun. Yeah, look up. Let me see if I can find the paper real quick before I cut this short. There's a paper on photosynthesis that started this whole field. I'm pretty sure that's where it came from, how this field even started. Um, and there was a very strong paper on photosynthesis, which is how plants get their energy. And they found out that there were quantum that quantum physics could be applied to how it's happening. Photosynthesis. Let me see if I can find the paper. Quantum. I'm just going to do quantum. Okay, so there's a hint of it on phys.org. Um, let's see. Quantum physics explains efficiency in photosynthesis. That's basically if you just type in quantum efficiency photosynthesis, you'll find all kinds of things on it. And there's an article at nature.com. And then there's a whole Wikipedia article, quantum biology. And the first thing they talk about is the photosynthesis. And basically, plants use quantum mechanics to make photosynthesis more efficient. And that's what you'll find. Yeah, the wording worked really well. Um, I basically distanced myself from that person's reality, and they moved on, I moved on, and now I'm fine. So yeah, watch the TED Talk. You'll find out about how it started with the photosynthesis, finding quantum physics to make it more efficient. Yeah, me and Drunkface had a discussion because I was being psychically attacked, which I know people would say is supernatural, blah, blah, blah. To me, dreams are real, and I dream. I fall asleep, I dream. Energy's real. I'm not calling it supernatural. You can call it supernatural if you want, but if something tries to affect your energies in your dreams, then I call it an attack. Um, I have to be really careful with my wording on this stuff. But it is definitely 10 minutes to 3, so I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, I was being attacked in my dreams, and so I had to um, learn how to put up my shields so that I could not be attacked in my dreams. I could go into more detail, but it gets really personal, so I'm going to try and avoid that. All right, so yes or no? I think I have 3 or 4 people in here. Do you want me to broadcast tomorrow night? Is there a good time for everybody? Because I'll be home before 8 o'clock, and you know, obviously I can stay up till 2 a.m. pretty easy. Okay, so Drunkface might come in. Stormageddon. What about you, Zoe? Are you in? Are you gone? She's probably working on her stuff, but she'll probably stop in. All right, then I'll come on tomorrow night. Um, because I want to sit there from 8 o'clock to 2 a.m. When I get home, I'll probably be around 9 or 10. I'm not gonna if the earlier I get on, the earlier I'm gonna get off. So I'm thinking I'll get home at 8, and I'll just want to sit and relax for a few minutes, and then I can I can start broadcasting at 9 o'clock, somewhere between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so y'all watch for me, and somewhere between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. I'll broadcast tomorrow night, and we can discuss anything. I can sit there, we've gotten pretty silly in here and just discuss music or my favorite movie or whatever. But obviously, I can get deep into philosophy or metaphysics or whatever like that. So we can pretty much go any direction. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we might guest. I just don't want to get locked in because I do want to get back into sleeping normal. So I don't mind guesting people, but I'm not gonna like guest people for 3 hours straight like I used to. So we can discuss it when I broadcast tomorrow night. I just don't want anybody to get insulted if I guest with you and I'm like, okay, we're gonna guest for 20 minutes or half an hour and then I drop you because I'm not gonna guest for 3 hours straight because I mean this is addictive to broadcast. That's part of the reason why I stopped broadcasting and part of the reason was because I had all kinds of personal issues. Um, and I want to like have everybody have a good time, but I don't want to get so addicted that I just give up sleeping again. So we're just gonna have to find a balance. All right, good night to everyone. I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Um, what's the Wubba Lubba Dub Dub? I haven't watched the Rick and Morty for a while. I feel like a traitor to Rick and Morty, but okay, it's because I had no sleep. And I will talk to y'all. Is it what Wubba Lubba Dub Dub? I mean, I'm like a fan, but I don't want to be like a fanatic fan. But I love them. All right, y'all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow night.